the cellar, there sits a doll, Satan's little helper, Annabelle. Put her in the attic, put her in a drawer. It doesn't really matter, she's gonna come back for more. Did you hear that? No. I think it was a rat. I don't think so. It was just a ghost. Oh no. Oh, I think it's all in my head. I just need to go to bed, and I'll wake up and be fine. Or maybe I'm not alright.
Well,
Awesome.
that's an awesome song. That that was AI that made me that song, and it only took about 2 minutes to make that song.
Yeah, I really like it.
It's really good, and yeah, it's honestly a really good video. So, Sabrina, how are you tonight? How's things for you?
Good. It's been a day, but it's gone really fast.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a guest coming on tonight, and honestly, I want you to give him a big warm welcome. Remember, check out all of his links below. Sabrina will introduce our awesome guest. We were helping him earlier with his microphone and his camera, so as you can see him for all his glory, as one would say. And I'm going to bring him up on stage. So here we go. Add to
Wait.
scene. Nope, that's it. There you go.
So, yeah, welcome, Father Bob Bailey. So everybody knows a little bit about his background. He's actually referred to as the Paranormal Padre.
Yes.
And is a retired Roman Catholic priest, highly skilled in spiritual warfare and in deliverance ministry, being well versed in angelic and the demonic. So, Father Bob is the founder and co-director of the Holy Sword Apostolate. He's starred in many different paranormal shows. So, read a little bit more up on him. He's pretty fascinating. But above all these things, he also watches over the Warren's Occult Museum and the artifacts within, including Annabelle.
So, welcome, Father, to the show, Night Terrors and Other Tales. So, honestly, I've just got one question for you. How did you get into this? How did you manage to get into that? What was your obviously you were a priest.
Yes.
How did how did you come? How did this come about? Instead, you got to a nice little parish somewhere. How did this all come about for you?
Well, first of all, it's very great to be here. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to be on with both of you. I love doing podcasts, so it's an honor for me to reach out to be with people. Um, Actually, I always had a a desire for the supernatural since I was young. My mother had a cousin who was a priest and very solid. So we used to talk for 2 hours every Tuesday at my grandfather's house next door. And that really engendered me a desire to want to be a priest.
Yeah.
But I always was very interested in the supernatural, miracles, apparitions, visions,
Yes.
and things like that. So, but I also loved Halloween, and
Mhm.
so the crossover with the paranormal wasn't a big leap of faith because paranormal just means above the normal. And so miracles are paranormal, apparitions are paranormal. It's just different genres
Mhm.
of that. So it wasn't until when I was a pastor in the parish of Pawtucket
Mhm.
that my young people said, I was watching Ghost Hunters, and they said, well, if you like them, you love Paranormal State. And
Yes.
I said, oh, okay. I watched it, and immediately I was hooked. I became a fan. So I wrote to Ryan, and he wrote right back, and we began a friendship.
Yeah.
And I wanted to meet him. He was in Massachusetts. I'm in Rhode Island. And so when I went up to see him, he asked, would you help us on a case? Would you mind? I said, yeah, sure, whatever. And he said, how do you feel about being on TV? I said, I don't know. I never was on TV. But that began my introduction to being on Paranormal State. And through that, I met Lorraine Warren.
Yeah.
And immediately, we formed a bond,
Yeah.
and I loved her to death. And so working with her on that and keeping in touch. Uh, through that, I get to meet Tony,
Yeah.
and it was after that that I also met NESPR in the New England Society for
Hmm.
Psychic Research, and I've stayed in contact with them, over the years. And when I would go there, sometimes Lorraine would ask me to bless the barn, the museum, and I would. But now with the Annabelle tour, I took a more personal uh, affiliation with that. They invited me to go with them, as sort of like, priest bodyguard, and I'm retired, so this
Yeah.
I'm doing on my own. This is not the time. Okay? Let me be very clear on that. Uh, but I went, and it was a great thing, to do. So, when I was on Paranormal State, because of the recognition that I'd gotten on TV, people were calling me for help. So I began
Yeah.
a group called the Presidium Warriors of St. Michael, PWSM.
Hmm.
And then after a while, I had to leave that for a while, leave it for a while. And then I came back with the Holy Sword Apostolate,
Yeah.
and I founded it. And then now I co-direct it with a priest, Father Torres uh, he's from California. So the both of us together, and it's growing slowly,
Yeah.
the whole thing. So that's basically how
Wow.
it started.
Wow. So retired is an understatement.
Yeah, yeah, but it's doing what I like to do best and have the freedom to do best now
Yeah.
because I'm retired. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say is your favorite part about everything that you're doing?
Helping people in an area where most priests won't go.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
and entering in, our late Holy Father Pope Francis always said we need to go out of our rectories and go into the marketplace, and go right there with where the people are. And to me, that's what I'm doing with the paranormal world. I have a specialized. I mean, I'm not. They call it Paranormal Padre, but I'm not into just any paranormal. It's
Yeah.
the demonic, it's spiritual
Yeah.
warfare, and all of that within that umbrella. So the people want the age-old wisdoms of the church, knowing that we've
Yeah.
been fighting evil, and so that's I find that great. People receive me well. They really do, and
Yeah.
I get to make a lot of contacts, and I love it.
I bet you do. I mean, can you talk about any cases that you've actually helped to like families with like maybe possessions or like entities in the
Uh,
house?
yes, I do. I am not an exorcist.
Yeah.
An exorcist, we all as priests have that part of our charism, part of our priesthood, but because it's dangerous
Yes.
for the client and for the priest, you have to have faculties from the bishop. You need his permission,
Yes.
and there are certain criteria laid down in the ritual for a priest to doing that. I don't think I'm holy enough, to be honest with you. So I'm devout. I pray
Yeah.
hard,
Yeah.
but still, if I never ever get caught in a case, I'm not upset about that. So yeah, most of my cases are infestation of homes. So we
Yeah.
do what we call as a minor rite, which any priest can do.
Hmm.
It's exorcism over a place, or a deliverance over a person. That's of a person who's oppressed or obsessed or feels attacked. Any priest can do that. It's
Hmm.
it's under the umbrella of healing ministry too, with that. So I think that one of the scarier cases was actually on uh, the haunted. They actually picked up one of my cases, and it was called demonic seduction. That's the name
Mm,
of the episode on the haunted, and it had to do with a friend of mine who he was part of an investigation group. They called me out into Massachusetts to a place, a convenience store, and we did it. We went down, we investigated, and did a deliverance over the place. It wasn't easy, but we did it, and we came back home. And then weeks later, my friend, who was my ministry partner too, his name was Rob. He uh, he started having things manifest at his house.
yeah,
Wow.
He couldn't, and so now I'm dealing with something very personal because it's affecting his entire family. I
yeah,
mean, we footage on that. If you watch that on YouTube, I mean,
yeah.
we got a
Well,
candlestick moving. We heard a siren outside, howling. Uh, and nobody else heard it. No, none of the neighbors heard that. And the thrashing, his thrashing. So there was a lot of evidence on there, and I think to me it was not scary, but also one of our tech guys uh, got scratched on the back, and he
mm,
felt it. And when he took his shirt off, there were 3 marks on his back.
Wow.
So it was formidable. So we believe it was a seducing demon
yeah,
that cat, and it really took his wife at the very end. I said, "You need to take your power back. You need your home, and you need to take your husband back." And she was good. She's Portuguese, so you gotta.
Watch out.
Oh yeah, watch out, second Italian. So yeah, and it ended up being successful, but it was an ordeal, and for me, draining emotionally because it was dealing with a friend and his
yeah,
family.
So, what are the types of rules that you establish before going into these types of situations?
Good question. What we always said was, we would make an initial contact on the phone. We had a case manager. Case manager would call and set up different things. At some points, we had questionnaires, as we developed, as the ministry developed. But we would agree either to have a group do an investigation, or sometimes we would go in if they didn't know any groups and it wasn't
yeah,
able to happen. But the ruling was no children are allowed to remain in the house
yeah,
during the investigations, unless the child was the epicenter of it.
Right.
Um, no neighbors could come in. Let me tell you, I've seen it all. I walked into a house and there's a whole couch full of people. This
Oh,
is not
wow.
a move. This is not.
yeah,
We're not selling pop. I'm sure you've come across that.
Yeah.
And so there were ground rules for that. But we would do also is we would pray days before for the family or the client, and then when we went in again, we would pray for protection for the family and go in. So that was it. But for me, it was a little different. Like as an investigator, because we didn't do as much investigating as we did later on, because it never hurts to bless a house.
yeah.
So if
Mhm.
something manifested, then it manifested. But there was, so we always ended up blessing the house anyways. So
Right.
It's something I've always wanted to. I'm going to ask you. And it's something. It's something that I've always thought about. And I was thinking to myself last night, what kind of questions can I ask Bob? But and this popped in. See when like they do like an exorcism, or you do like cleanse a house and get
yeah,
rid of the spirit. Where does that spirit go? Does it, if it's demonic, does it go like back to hell? If it's like, or if it's a spirit, does it just, it cannot get into that house anymore?
that it's a good question, and I don't know the answer to that. I know most of the time. Um, I actually did that. Lizzie, I was at Lizzie Borden's, and there was a
Yeah.
dark spirit. Now, whether it it followed me or if it was there, I have no idea. But I sent it to go to the foot of the cross for judgment. I
Yeah.
always send it to the cross, to the Lord for judgment. Whether it goes there or just goes somewhere else, I don't know. But yeah, I think when they do exorcisms, I don't know if they do know where
Yeah.
it goes from there, but yeah.
That's crazy.
Hmm.
If you ever find that out, please let us know.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
intriguing.
and I will tell you this. Now, people say, well, why did Ed and Lorraine keep all those cursed objects? Why didn't they just exorcise? Well, because Ed thought, because of whatever was the demon attaching, and the name is not Annabelle, it's an it. It was a psychic who gave a wrong, you know, gave it a name because it thought it was a human spirit, and it wasn't. So it's an it. And he felt, because of the power of it, that it was better to bind it to that object that it was connected to and keep it in a protective case than to try to get rid of it, and God knows where it would go to.
Yeah.
That was the logic behind that, from what I understand.
That's interesting. So, I mean, as you're describing this, I'm also going back to your role as the official keeper of the all of the artifacts in the
Well,
museum.
I'm not really the official keeper.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's, I mean,
Guardian,
like,
sorry.
the keeper is Tony, like,
Yeah.
spiritually. I'm a consultant, the priest consultant for
Yeah.
NESPR, and I mean, they're all my friends and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I do bless and
Yes.
bind. So,
Thank you for correcting that. I appreciate that.
yeah, it sounded like ownership. It's like, no, I don't want.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't want
want
that
that
I'm
museum.
not that great. I'm not that great. I
either.
don't have that great of a role. No, no, no. So,
So, have you experienced strange things around these
Oh,
artifacts as you've been there blessing them?
um, not in the museum, but a couple of years ago in Gettysburg, they had a lot of the artifacts like we had in Kentucky, and it was like they created a makeshift museum with tops and all that. I went in to bind all the objects before people came in, and yeah, I did start to feel very dizzy, and I had to
Mhm.
get out for a couple of minutes.
yeah.
That was one. Yeah, some, without breaking confidences, when we're on the trip, of course, they bring Annabelle in,
Yeah.
the doll, into the hotel room because they don't, because God forbid somebody finds it out and they try to break into it. So
Yeah.
they had it in there. Yeah, people saw something manifested in the room,
Wow.
in the
Oh,
hotel room. Uh, Sometimes it would turn people against each other, and we saw that on the trip. Then all of a sudden we realized, like, oh, wait a minute, you know. So,
it's
Wow.
that it's actually
but
I seen.
nothing like, Hollywood.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I was watching you on Facebook when you were blessing it, and how you had to have it covered up. I
Yes.
mean, there was a case not that long ago. Someone actually died. That was something to do with the doll.
No. Okay.
Happened there,
That was our dear friend, Dan. Dan was
right?
really the spearhead with NESPR. He was the go-getter, and um, unfortunately, he tried to take care of his health, but
Yeah,
not enough. And yeah, he died while on the tour, and he
yeah.
thankfully, mercifully, died in his sleep. But it had something to do with plaque on the heart.
All right, right.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
like, because I was actually because I did hear about it, and I was like, oh god, I hope he's no like
No,
touched
no,
the
it was
doll.
it was it
Yeah,
was it was it's not anything to do with Annabelle. I mean, the demonic thing. It just was, there's a lot of, we're up long hours, traveling long
yes,
hours, with not a lot of sleep, not eating the best food all the time, and so it's there's a stress on that. And
yes. I thought there
if
will be.
someone had a heart condition and maybe didn't tell anybody about it,
Yeah,
or to the extent of it, or maybe didn't know the extent of it. It just happened. But the blessed thing was that he never suffered. He died right in his sleep.
Yeah,
That's really good
yeah,
thing.
that's
Yeah.
good. I mean, I've got a question for you here actually, and it's actually something that I actually was talking to my friend. He's in the chat actually. His name's called Son of the Naked Bigfoot. It's Pete. He's called Pete. I actually showed him that picture that you put up on Facebook. The one I think it's some type of voodoo, and I actually asked you about that, and he was like he had to bless his phone after.
What was
after
the picture of me with the doll behind me?
No, it was that one with the nails in it. Pete, what was that picture I showed you again? It was like nails in it. It was a voodoo.
Oh,
Uh, what was it again? It was Pete. Go and help us in the chat. And I actually messaged you about it, and I'll have a quick look at that. And I actually took off.
but that not has nothing to do with the museum.
No, no, no. This was at the event that you were at a couple of weeks ago,
Oh, okay.
and I
Oh,
seen it.
yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, there were actual voodoo doll. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
and
There
I
was a
was
voodoo
like,
doll.
I couldn't stop staring at it. I just, I just,
Yeah.
that's there. The curse there, it's there. I'll bring that up actually. The curse fetish. That's what it was, and I was like, what is that? Because I didn't know what it was, and I was like, I was so drawn to it. I was like, it was so inviting, and I could not stop staring at it. It was weird because I kept going back, and I thought, you know something, I'm going to ask Pete. Pete, he knows about this because he does the voodoo stuff and that. So I sent it to him, and he actually had to bless his phone after
Wow.
it,
Wow.
because it had some type of energy around about it. Can you
Well, I'm
tell
going
us?
to tell you about that. The last 2 trips or 3 trips from Maine. I decided to experiment to ask NESPR. I said, "Look, I have some religious relics, and so I said, would you mind if I display them because that's paranormal too? If they're miraculous." And so they said, "Sure." So I had a table where I had 4 artifacts from my collection. One was a splinter of the cross of Christ.
Yes.
It's found in an old church, and I received when I went into a demonically infested house, and I lifted that. It's a small little reliquary to bless in that room. The REM pod across the way went nuts and died. My tech
Wow.
guy said there were brand new batteries in that,
Yeah.
and they drained completely. So again, people were like, "Wow." I said, "Yeah." And so I bring that with me everywhere as part of my war chest. Another one was a blood from Padre Pio. He was he's a saint that died in 1968, and he was the stigmata. He had the wounds of Christ, and so I was given by a nun from a monastery a little drop of his blood. And Lorraine loved Padre Pio.
Yeah.
She invoked him many times on her cases. The third one was there was a cave that I visited in Italy called Monte Gargano, St. Michael's Cave. And when he appeared there, he said the stones there would afford protection. So I had a few stones from St. Michael's Cave. And the last one was oil that had oozed from an icon of the Virgin Mary.
Mm,
And the reason why I know it's authentic, it was my friend's icon.
yeah.
She herself created the icon, but only with things from the earth.
Yeah.
No oil-based paints. And then all of a sudden, within time, she started to see oil oozing from that. And it started to do it, and it did it for a number of years. So I was able to get some of that, and it never defaced the icon at all. One time when in Kentucky, for a little bit there, the picture of the picture oozed oil,
Wow.
Ooh.
and the young man who discovered it was Jewish, so it wasn't like he had any
Yeah.
predisposition towards believing that. So people actually, because Annabelle was next to me, on the next
Mhm.
place, people actually felt safe at that table. and people who are empathic and all that would come
Mm-hmm.
to the table and would could feel the positive because it was. And so I said, this is positive paranormal phenomenon.
Yes.
We all know about the scary one. So I said, it was, people thanked me. It was received so well that I think I'm going to go on the road with that and talk more
Yeah.
about these things. People need to know this,
Oh yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that actually is a really good entrance into the next question I had, which is, I mean, if you know the Warrens, they've always emphasized the spiritual danger behind a lot of the items and artifacts that you're around. So, what do you do to spiritually protect yourself while you're blessing them?
Yes. Well, I do prayers before, like in the morning, even in the morning here in the chapel, I do protection prayers, not just my priest liturgy of the hours, but I do prayers to Saint Michael, to Our Lady, to the precious blood of Jesus to cover me. And so I do extensive protection prayers, and I do that also on the on the tour, and and then again saying that nothing's allowed to attach or to follow us or anything like that, and again, it's not my own. The reason why it's strong is it's not from me. It's the authority that comes through me from Jesus. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I know, it's powerful, it's effective, you know.
Yeah.
Has there been any experiences that your protection maybe hasn't worked in the way that you would have liked, or?
Well, there have been times during the in Kentucky, we have 5,300 people come through the makeshift museum. And yeah, like it would, before people came, I used holy water, I did the binding prayers and all that. But a few times Ryan would come up to me and say, Father, people are really starting to feel, can you go through again? So he would kind of lead me through the crowd, saying, excuse me, Father Bob's going to do his thing. People were very nice. So I'd be
Yeah,
sprinkling holy water into. Yeah, and I think it's because there was so much energy in there
Mm-hmm.
that it was manifesting because of all the interest in there. You know,
right.
so it was you had to be vigilant.
Yeah.
You had to be vigilant. It wasn't just a one-shot deal when it comes to that.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, I've actually got two questions, but I'll ask the first question first, and I'll ask the next one in a wee while. But see how you've got Annabelle. Everybody knows the Warren's museums because of Annabelle and stuff like that. But would you say that there's any see how Annabelle admits that much evilness? Do
Yeah,
you think there's spirits in that museum that's attached to things that Ed and Elaine's collected over the years that's actually frightened of that doll? Do you think it amplifies things for the other spirits?
it could. It
Yeah.
could. Um, there's also now they say that that's not the most uh, powerful. Annabelle was not the most powerful artifact. It was a shadow doll. Shadow doll was this not very pleasant thing there,
Hmm.
a doll. But what its sole purpose was to kill.
Yes.
So what they would do, you take a picture of it and then write down the certain incantation, send it to someone. If they read it, they said then they would die.
Yeah.
So that was what. But now it can't hurt you because no one knows the incantation. We're not
Yeah.
sending it and all of that. So it's kind of defunct. It's still pray because
Hmm.
people can still manifest or whatever. But yeah, they say that when you're in the museum and you're doing the different devices and stuff, that there is kind of a back and forth or a jealousy for attention between the shadow doll and the thing that's part of Annabelle.
Yeah.
Don't know how that works, but that's what I've heard. Not totally. If I didn't know, that's fine. I don't need to know.
So then you're bringing us to like the shadow doll. That is
Hmm.
another artifact that maybe isn't as notorious as Annabelle. Would you
Correct.
say that there's another artifact in the museum that would be, that deserves just as much credit as the Annabelle doll would?
That would be the only other one. Now, Rick Clark, who's the proprietor of now. That's a beautiful thing about Elton and Matt. When they bought everything, they kept NESPR on to keep the integrity of the Warrens' legacy. They have painstakingly restored that house for the bed and breakfast, not renovated, restored. And he would know more, but I think the Shadow Doll would be the most notorious, even though it really can't affect you. But then again, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, because of the fact there's a lot of things that are, I mean, there are voodoo dolls in there. There are
I seen them
African,
tonight. I seen those tonight, and I was sitting thinking. I actually Pete in the chat there, son of the naked vow, but popped straight into my head because he likes the voodoo stuff, and
yeah,
I was watching it. I thought they came across the voodoo aisle, and all it was the dolls, and I was like, ooh.
yeah. And there were dolls there were artifacts like that big thing that looks like a space creature with the two horns.
Is that the satanic thing that because I
Yeah, it's a
think Ed
satanic
was talking
idol.
about that. Yeah, it was like
Yeah, it's
they found a satanic thing. Yeah,
yeah, the idol. So obviously that was used in satanic worship, and so was some of these masks that they had. So they have the potential, obviously, for having negative spirits attached to it. So again, anything like that, you just don't want to, don't take it for granted. Don't you know just with respect. And the reason people say, well, why are they showing all this off? Why are they taking it around and making a spectacle? Because Ed's and Lorraine's whole reason for even taking Annabelle out, and I'm going to get that to you
hmm
in a second,
Hmm.
was to uncover the works of the devil and of evil, to show that evil is. We
yes,
are a sensory people, and that shows like no other. And because of the fact that, because of zoning laws, people cannot go to the museum anymore until they build a new one. Uh, you know, they thought bring the museum to the people and show them that. Um, So that's why now they say all these people who never met Ed and Lorraine, who don't have a clue, and some also who have a clue, who should know better but don't, say and they never brought them out. That's not true. They did bring the Annabelle doll out, Ed and Lorraine, and they used to have nights with Annabelle, and also the first time Ryan Buell uh, uh met Lorraine and saw the doll was at a college, I believe, but it
yeah.
wasn't in the
Seen the
museum.
pictures.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so the doll did go out. I mean, these people are saying never should. I don't know where they're getting that from.
I've seen all the. I used to be right into this. Well, I still am right into it, and I've seen the pictures. Relaine holding the doll, and in front of people showing off the doll, and I think it's a good thing what they did because they also got. And I know people are like, "Oh, I would bury that in the back garden," but that would be a bad idea because then if anybody built anything there or anybody was in the house, there would be problems. I think they've stored all these things away and as you guys and whoever's looking after it now, and that'll just keep going through the years. It'll keep
Yes,
those things away from the public because if you encounter something like that, I mean, imagine if you were at like a car boot sale and you say, "Oh, look at that! There's a doll. I'm taking that home."
exactly. And from what I understand, and the motives have to be just pure evil. But I was told this by a few people, that there are people who would intentionally put curses on inanimate objects and then give them to like uh, antique shops or places so that people will get them. That's evil-minded people
Yeah.
Yes.
that are doing that. So sometimes when you get things from secondhand store, you got to really think about it. I had a friend of mine who I was dealing with the case of their house is from the late 16, early 1700s, which for you guys in Scotland is nothing.
So that's me. My house is 100 years old. The one up mine.
Yeah, but anyway, she had bought a rocking horse, a little rocking horse, from an antique store, and all of a sudden, stuff started happening in the house,
Yeah.
and So, they called me in, and again, so I bound it. I blessed the house and all that. And I said, you need to get rid of it. So they gave it to somebody who I wish I could have told them to give it to the Warrens Museum, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But I think John Zaffis, as a matter of
Yes.
fact, has it. So it's in a place where, uh, we'll be safe. So, um, yeah, so those things happen.
Do you think that with all the things that can happen around all of these artifacts, do you think that the public really understands the power behind them? Or
No.
do you think Hollywood has glamorized it and kind of
Mhm.
diluted the reality of it?
Absolutely. What frustrates me about Hollywood is, well, except that they're out for making a good movie that sells. But
Yeah.
you know, but as far as like The Conjuring 4, The Last Rites, there's very little in there that's factual.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's all about Tony and Judy's love affair, but they weren't involved in that. And they know it. They didn't know that at the beginning. They were consultants about Ed and Lorraine, and
Yeah.
also, they had Judy hanging from a rope, almost hanging herself.
I seen that. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was and a priest who committed suicide hanging. That stuff never happened.
Yeah.
But it was a good movie.
Mhm.
Sensationalism. It was a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what frustrates me is if people don't realize that, you know,
People think it's real.
just like, did you see the Pope's Exorcist?
I've seen. I've
I
seen.
did.
I've seen the first one.
Horrible movie. And I'm
And
going to tell you why. There's no sense of reality in that. That was
yeah.
not Father Gabriel Amorth. If you read his books, fiction is scarier. I mean, fact is scarier than fiction. I
Yeah.
mean, just to highlight the experiences he's had with demonic would be scarier than what they made
Yes.
him into.
Yes.
So it's frustrating.
I,
The
I,
only the only one I would say that's really kind of right on, and it's pretty, fairly good as far as is The Right. It's
yeah.
called The Right. And what's his name? Anthony Hopkins. No, I
Yeah.
believe, is it Anthony Hopkins? Yeah, yeah. Because it's based on Matt Baglio's book, who followed an exorcist around,
Yes.
and the things that happened in there, yes, were plausible, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, with the movies industry, they talk about the nun case, right? The one with the nun, and that obviously none
Yeah.
didn't exist. But the house itself, that was the Enfield Poltergeist. I'm sure that was based in the Enfield Poltergeist.
Yes. Yes.
And I remember my mum telling me about that because she can remember when that actually happened, and it was in all the papers across the UK,
Yep.
and it was so interesting because at least they did talk about that, but in the movie they had a cellar. They didn't really have a cellar, and then and he was dragged under the water, and that didn't really happen. But I suppose you've got if it's a movie, you've got to make money. You've got to make it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, and even with The Conjuring 4, that was the Smurl case. Now, I remember a movie coming out in the 70s or the 80s based on, I think it's called A Haunting, or Haunting in Connecticut.
The haunting in
Yeah.
Connecticut.
Yeah, that was more factually accurate.
Yes.
And to me, that was scary. I mean, those facts were, but it wouldn't have made you jump like, uh,
Mhm.
you know, it made like the biggest box office hit of horror movies ever, I think. And we just kept seeing it grow and grow ever since the premiere. It was like, holy crap, every day it was jumping to new heights. It was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it and I said, okay, I wouldn't see it a second time, but I was glad I did. I got, a premiere showing or whatever, but, you know.
So I noticed that we actually have a question from one of our audience members.
Oh,
Yes.
good.
Who's that? I'll bring them up. Is that Iron
It's
City?
Diana,
Diana. Diana.
and
Right.
she's asking, how can you get involved with legitimate paranormal groups?
Uh, that's a tough one. Yeah, like I know, like I myself know, some local ones that I've worked with, and I trust them, and it's tough. Look on their website, see how long they've been doing it, see what their methods are, and if they're doing divination, and they're conjuring rather, yeah, no, stay away. Last thing you want to go into a haunted house and have people bring a
Yeah.
Ouija board, or
Right.
open the door with a seance, is portal. So you got to look on what they do, and the fact that they can see it through. Uh, it's one thing to go in. Oh yeah, your house is haunted. Okay, now what are they going to do to help you? Are they going to steer you in the right direction to getting
Yeah.
help, to getting
Right.
legitimate
Yeah.
help?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the best I can say. Look, be very careful what you see on these groups, and what their methods are, how long they've been in, and maybe some of their stories if they have them,
Mm.
their
We've
success
actually
stories.
we've actually got Sonny the Naked Bigfoot here, and he says it's quite interesting actually. Annabelle is a conduit, and I actually believe that. I do believe him 100% with that. How I think Annabelle can open doors for other
Yeah,
spirits and other evil spirits. I wouldn't say good spirits, evil spirits.
yes. Well, the fascination, and I will say that that did trouble me as a priest.
Yeah.
Yeah, people want to see Annabelle, but they did, were able to teach about it, but still, I mean, in some instances, like a rock star, and that troubled me. There was one I was so shocked that I couldn't respond, and I kicked myself. Although there was a mother who brought in a young child with a bouquet of flowers and placed it at the feet of Annabelle, of the box.
Wow.
That's interesting. That why
And
did they do?
first of all, you bring a child in. Second of all, to bring and I should have said, and I just was so shocked. Like I could, like, you do understand this is a demon.
Yeah.
Yes.
You do understand that, what you're doing to your daughter. And first of all, I wouldn't bring my child into this type of environment at that point.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, yeah, it can.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always that danger, you know, just like there's always a danger, when we're doing, house cleansings,
Yeah.
house exorcisms, that it can go somewhere, or travel home with somebody, follow somebody attached. There's always dangers to everything we do. We just have to do the best we can.
I'm going to give some things here. We've got Iron City Paranormal, which is an
Yeah.
amazing ghost hunting team. Sabrina goes ghost hunting. Do you want to read this out for everybody, Sabrina?
Yeah. So Iron City is asking, is there any truth to these artifacts having to be gifted to somebody to truly pass these curses along to the next person, or is that simply a myth?
I don't know how to answer that. Gifted to somebody? Well, I mean, in the sense of what we discussed, if someone had the intention of putting something evil onto that an artifact, and then put it in a store or something, hoping that someone would get it, and just for being mean. Yeah. Um, but I don't know.
Hmm.
What was the question? I just want to be able to get the
Well,
specifics.
I'll bring it back up again. There it's there. Is there any truth in these artifacts having to be gifted to someone to truly pass these curses along to the next person, or is it simply a myth? I
No,
mean,
I don't think so. No, 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 no. Because again, there was the whole thing with the motorcycle person that mocked Annabelle,
that's
and
aye, aye.
or the priest that had the yeah. No, no, it wouldn't have to be gifted. No, no.
That makes sense. So if you could personally take an artifact and place it in the hands of the world just for a moment safely, what would you want them to feel from that artifact?
I would want them to feel the history of it, the teaching of it. not necessarily the artifact itself,
Yeah.
or whatever's the evil behind it, but use it as a teaching method, motive, the history of, okay, why is this thing evil? What has it done, and what can we learn from that
I
not
love
to
that. That's
do?
a good answer.
Yeah, that is it's a really good answer. It's interesting. Here's Son of the Naked Bigfoot. Here's what's this. It depends on the curse working. It may be, was that geared towards a single individual or family. General, screw anyone over who touches a kind of curse. Well, it's actually true that, because obviously you get the voodoo dolls and things, and people do curse. Yeah, that's why you should never accept gifts for people that do like magic, that are known to do magic and things like that. And they're like, oh, here's a
Yeah,
lovely pack of tarot cards. I want to give you this for a gift. And you're, all right, cheers, thank you very much. Pop them in your pocket, take them home. No.
yeah. I would be careful, because and again, sometimes the people, and even well-meaning or not so well-meaning, don't realize what they're passing on or what they're
Yes.
doing. You know,
Yeah. So, do you think that Ed and Lorraine Warren would be really proud of the work that you're continuing to do? And do you think that a lot of people really understand now the reasons why Ed and Lorraine started all of this and put these practices in place?
I would hope so. Not just because of the tour, which is ending, that segment of what's doing, but I would say, yeah, all together, education through media. And I understand that, the new museum will be like state of the art, so,
Yeah.
and spaced out nice, where it will be, explained to people. Um, and I love what Elton's doing. I talked to him a couple hours one night. I have nothing but respect and admiration for him. But yeah, I think that, I'm hoping that people would understand, would come to more of an understanding of the role of good versus evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
We live in a topsy-turvy world where good is seen as evil and evil is seen as good in a lot of
Yeah.
places, and it's tough. It's tough. Or there's no such thing as evil. Even in the church, we went through a period where priests were saying there's no such thing as the devil.
That's
Wow.
interesting you say that. It's interesting you say that, because I was talking to a minister one day, Church of Scotland, and I told them what I did interviews and I did the paranormal thing. Oh, there's no such thing,
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, there's no such thing. But you stand on a Sunday in there and you say about how God's got to take you in the light, and you say, oh, but no, he wouldn't want to answer it, just walked away.
yeah.
I think
I,
people like that.
because we went through a period in the 60s and 70s. I'm not knocking psychology. Psychology
Hmm.
is important, and is
Mhm.
very good, but when you deduce everything to that and throw the baby out with the bathwater, and then all of a sudden now there's no um, incarnate evil, it's the evil within you. That's not what Jesus taught. I'm sorry. You're calling him a liar, as a minister or a priest. But that's the generation. Thank God the generation's coming up now of younger priests. No, they know,
Yeah.
and that there is. But yeah, Ed would get very harsh on the priest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
he
heard
would go.
that.
So do you believe in personified evil? Oh, no, no, then you're not a priest.
I
I heard
believe
tales to that. Good for him.
I
Yeah.
truly believe there's evil, but I truly believe there's good out there.
Oh,
I
yeah,
do believe there's a war going on right now between the angels, between the demons. It constantly
absolutely.
rages on, and that's obviously the dark's trying to come into the light, and the light's obviously trying to stop them. I mean, here's a kind of funny question. Somebody asked me to ask you this, but who dusted inside the museum? Who cleaned inside the museum when they had all the artifacts? Well, like you think you had to get in there and dust everything. I'd be standing there, my dust and
Oh,
my
yeah.
pledge in my
Well,
hand.
Yeah, well, they do it, but yeah, I mean, you can't get to the point where there's legitimate precautions, then there's almost superstitious, where it gets down to like, oh, I can't even go near the dust that was near the dust that was near there. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know who cleans the museum
Yeah.
physically, but but if it's one of the guys from there, I'm sure they pray before it.
Tony, I can see him the new Tony. He'll be his crucifix in one hand and his duster on the
That's it. A duster. I got a duster. I got a crucifix, and I'm not afraid to use them.
spray
Yeah.
bottle filled with holy.
Uh,
We've actually got a really, really good question from somebody in the audience again as well.
Who is it? Who is it?
It's Jenny in Virginia.
Right, let me scroll back. There we go. Bring it up for you there.
So Jenny is asking, what is a routine that we should do on a regular basis to cleanse and prevent evil from entering our own homes?
okay. The best preventative of that is a life of faith. Okay. If you're doing the right things and you have a prayer life and you're practicing your faith, you don't really have to worry. Now, again, I mean, there are people and I do this also. I would take holy water and bless. I live in two rooms, but I would bless that, just for protection. But you don't want to get overly scrupulous and overly fearful,
Mhm.
because if you're living the life of faith, then but just say a prayer of protection every day.
Yeah,
I mean, there are simple prayers like the guardian angel prayer, the Saint Michael prayer.
I do the Saint Michael. Yeah,
Yeah, there's Psalm 23, there's Psalm 91. There are prayers that you can do, because we should be praying for protection anyway, because there is always that struggle between good and evil. It's not Hollywoodish, but
yeah,
it's very real, because who's going to want to stop you from living a life of grace and living a life, based on the gospel? It's going to be the devil. And
yeah,
so
Right.
there is always that, but you don't want to get so much that you see there's two extremes. One that sees the devil behind every corner, and the other one is that they don't see him at all.
yeah,
Our best place is to be somewhere in the middle of that.
yeah.
So, can I ask a follow-up question to that? Do you
Hmm.
mind? Um, so, if there's somebody that, say, doesn't have a religious background or doesn't have that main belief in God or Jesus,
Hmm.
how would you help them to protect themselves or encourage
Well,
them?
it's tough if you don't have that, because now you're dealing with supernatural forces and you have to deal with them in a supernatural way. So, your faith has to be your shield. So I would find a faith fast, you know, and
Good.
especially like what I do is, when I go into homes and stuff, I'll say, look, I'm a Roman Catholic priest. My rituals are based on Roman Catholic prayers. I use the Virgin Mary. I use holy objects and relics, and there's no atheists in foxholes. I've never got someone saying no. Even Jewish people, or no, do whatever you have to. And then after it's done, I would highly encourage them to go back to the faith that they were brought up in, or if
Yeah,
they don't want to do that, then to embrace a faith. I would give them, show them how to pray the Catholic way, if they're Jewish or Eastern Orthodox, whatever. But encourage them you need to have some kind of a faith practice in the home, especially if you've been touched by evil.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like when we're touched by a disease, we have to do
mhm,
maintenance so that that disease is kept in check, right? Same
Right.
thing with evil. You can't just, okay, boom, here's a magic wand. You guys get rid of them. Now we can go back to life the way it is.
yeah,
No, unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. You need to we help you create a hedge of protection, but it's up to you to keep that hedge, you know, uh, strong and
Yeah,
cultivated. You know.
Makes sense. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because there's people that just out there that just don't believe in anything. They don't believe in life after death. They don't believe in aliens. They don't believe in. They're totally apps. I know people that totally don't believe, but
Hmm.
then they've had that religious experience. They've seen something. I remember them. I tried to tell them about it. I'm not mentioning names, and it was, oh, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe that. No problem. And then a couple of years later, I was talking to the guy, and he's like, oh, I was in this house. It was so weird. My
Hmm.
cup floated right past me,
Wow.
and weird things. The lights were flickering. He doesn't live in that house anymore, and now when I bring up the subject, he doesn't really answer me. He's like, "Well, I believe," and he does pray. He prays a lot. I think he actually started not going to church, but he believes that there is something. I know there's something after death. I
Hmm.
mean, I know. I mean, I do the Saint Michael prayer quite a lot. I
Right.
also believe. I believe Jesus
That's
existed, and I do believe that he died for the sins and stuff like that. But I do believe in faith. If you've got faith in what you believe in, and if it's good, it
mhm.
works.
Yeah. In fact, we were at the Lizzie Borden. I'd never been there. It's 20 minutes away from me in Massachusetts. So I got invited to go. We were in the basement, and we're allowed to have to investigation and all that. And that's when I unfortunately we do the Estes method,
All right.
and which is I find to be a very objective. Of all of them,
Mhm.
that it's pretty objective. And so whenever that happens, my name comes up all the time. Bob,
Wow.
Bob, Bob.
Nah.
So I say, oh, here we go again. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I said, you guys are like, I'm like, yeah, I hear it. But anyways, so as it's going, we have one skeptic girl, and she did the Estes. Well, I don't know what she was hearing, but whatever she was hearing, it called her by a name
Mhm.
that was a nickname that nobody would have known.
Wow.
And it kept saying, she goes, "That's my nickname." She threw the thing. I said, are you still a skeptic?" "No." And it affected her. It's like, okay, see,
see, see, I was told, and I watch a lot of paranormal shows and stuff like, because I love the subject. That demons, especially demons, know everything about that person. It knows everything about your mother that's passed away for 2 years. It knows everything your great grandfather that died in 1950. It knows everything.
it does.
That's the only thing you have to watch out for. I mean, I watch a lot of TikTok and stuff, and the stuff that we do. There is so many people out there pretending to be like really good psychics, but I do believe that they're like conjuring things up that they shouldn't. Because I've seen it. I've seen it in TikTok, and I'm like, "Urgh," like that, and I'm like, you have to be careful. You
You
have to be
do.
careful who you go to, especially.
See, our faith forbids us from conjuring, and there's a
Yeah,
reason for it. But people say, well, you're conjuring when you go do investigation. No, I'm not. If people are saying there's something in that house, good
yeah,
or
clear.
evil, or
Yeah.
maybe not at all, I'm going in to see what the heck it is. I'm not conjuring something out of nowhere. I'm not calling forth spirits. I'm
Right.
trying to see, is there
Mhm,
something in that house? There's a big difference between that and
mhm,
conjuring. And investigators need to know that too, to be secure, to know that they're not conjuring unless they physically conjuring, like I'm calling up whatever,
mhm,
anybody
Right.
here, you know. But if there's something in that house, we need to know. You know, it's
mhm.
it's it's like the exterminator. You need to go in and look and see are there
Hey,
bugs.
you need to look for it.
Right.
You know,
We have another interesting question,
Cool.
and the last one from our audience. I think it's pretty funny. This is
Who-
coming from Son of the Naked Bigfoot.
Is this it here? Has
Yes.
off you go, Sabrina.
So if there's a cursed object that accumulates dust, does the dust then become cursed, evil dust, demon dust?
That's a good question, Pete.
I've never thought about that, and
Right?
I wouldn't even know how to answer that.
It's a good one.
The possession of
Yeah,
the duster.
yeah, it's not anything I would have thought. I don't, I sometimes you gotta be honest enough to say, "I don't know," and I'm saying, "I don't know."
Yeah. We'll have
I
to get
mean, we
back
can
to you on how
posit
deep.
we can posit opinions, and that's all they are opinions, you
Yeah.
know?
We've not got long left of the show, but a question for you, Bob. Have you ever been tried to, do you have like something outside to stop them following you home? Do you put like wee crosses around? Because I know people that have done the paranormal and they put little crosses, their friends are like priest and that, and they've put little crosses round about their house to like, do you do that? Yeah.
Yes, yes. Oh, you mean in the house, that we go to do the blessing?
No, no, the house that you stay in to like stop them
Oh,
coming
yeah,
in.
oh, yeah, I have the holy water, and plus I take authority, and so part of the closing ritual in the house is that I claim the blood of Jesus over all of us, and I say that no entity can attack, attach, or follow us home. And I ask the angels to protect us, from that. You have to, yeah, because if not, that can happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's if you're doing the work, if you're doing the work regularly, you gotta, you gotta take precautions, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There are times that I gotta be honest with you, and I don't know what it is, but I have not found. I'm in bed, I hear something fall. So what the heck
Mm,
is that? I get up, I'm looking everywhere, the wall. I have no idea. Or I hear something bang. I don't know where it is, and that could be nothing. It could be nothing,
Mhm.
but then again, it's interesting, So that's when But
you never know.
Well, is there any parting words of wisdom that you would like to share with anybody, everybody?
yeah, I would just tell people to treat the subject of this. Um, that there is good versus evil. There is a battle out there. We don't always see it because of the that we have a veil. Sometimes a veil gets thin, but we don't always. There is a battle between good and evil. Uh, Stay on the life of faith. The easiest targets for evil is people that have nothing and
Mhm,
don't believe in anything. Uh,
mhm,
and and I'm not saying it attacks them, but it just you need just you need to have positiveness in your life. And
Yeah.
part of being positive is to have a faith, and to live that out. So,
mhm.
Great words.
Honestly, I'll talk to you after in the studio after, but honestly,
okay.
thank you so much for coming on
This has
tonight.
been a very great interview. I must say, I
Thank
thoroughly
you.
enjoyed this one.
Yeah, no,
Thank
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
you're welcome to come back anytime, and we would like
I
you to
would.
come back. We'll talk to you after this. Anyway, everybody that's watching tonight, guys, thank you so much for coming. Please, I'll need to find the trailers. Here we go. Please, everybody, have a fantastic, safe, and blessed night tonight and Sunday tomorrow. Have a relaxing day. Lots of love for us, and we will see you very soon. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Whispers crawl across the floor. Footsteps echo, then no more. Cold hands reach where light won't stay, calling you to come and play. Dancing shadows spinning fast, fear and laughter, they will clash.